Righto, day 2 is run and done and we are starting to see the contenders flexing their muscles. The competitive order is starting to whisper. Let me ask you something. At what point in testing does the real story begin to show? Because day 1 is always noise. Installation runs, system checks, everyone is very cautious. But day 2 is where the first real signals start to emerge. And after everything now we've seen from Bahrain testing, there's a pattern beginning to form. Quietly, though, across the grid. Some teams look increasingly comfortable. Some teams look like they're still learning. And a few already look like they're chasing. If you're new here and want Formula One explained clearly without spending hours digging through news feeds, subscribe now to the All Motorsports Podcast or smash that follow button on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you don't miss these daily briefings. All right, let's get into what day 2 actually told us. Day 2 is a shift from installation to intent. Day 1 is about functionality. Day 2 is about intent. Teams begin moving beyond basic system checks and into structured run plans, longer stints, energy development mapping, aero balance validation, and early performance correlation. And what stood out immediately on day 2 was this. Some teams transitioned smoothly into longer, confident programs, and others didn't. And that's where the early competitive picture begins to whisper into view. The teams looking comfortable. Let's start with the teams that look operationally settled. You can tell when a team understands its car. Runs become longer. Garage time becomes shorter. Adjustments become smaller. That's confidence. Most operationally ready right now are McLaren, Ferrari, Haas, and surprisingly, Williams. These teams are running long programs, gathering strong data, and likely to arrive race 1 prepared. Quietly impressive stories, though, are Cadillac for a new entry. This does not look like a new team. They have a strong preparation signal, and that tells you something about where they are at. Now, Red Bull and Audi, they are settled but controlled. They have structured programs. They're not chasing mileage, but they are calm and methodical. Teams still learning their car. Surprised to see Mercedes, then Alpine and Aston Martin. Not slow, but not fully comfortable yet. That matters because the first 5 races reward preparation, not peak speed. Because once a team trusts reliability and baseline setup, they can begin exploring performance. And the teams already moving into that phase on day 2 are the ones most likely to start the season strongly. Right now, McLaren and Ferrari look operationally ready. Not necessarily the fastest yet, but the most prepared. Cadillac look composed, and a few big teams still look like they're learning their own cars and confirming data. The team's still searching. There are the teams still spending extended time in the garage, more bodywork off, more recalibration, more short runs followed by checks. Again, not unusual this early, but here's why it matters. Every hour spent solving baseline issues is an hour not spent refining performance. And in modern Formula One, development momentum builds quickly. If one team unlocks performance testing on day 3, while another is still validating reliability, that gap compounds fast. Quick pause. If you're enjoying these sharp daily updates from testing, then smash that subscribe button now so you don't miss daily updates and my predictions for 2026 season that will come at the end of day 6 update. 1 episode and you are fully caught up. So subscribe now. All right, here's where things get interesting. Energy management is already defining run plans. One of the clearest day 2 trends, energy development focus. Teams are running longer stints, not to chase lap times, but to understand energy usage across race simulations. And this is where the data gets interesting. Because when you look at which teams are still spending extended time in the garage between runs, a very clear operational picture begins to form. At the top of that list right now, Aston Martin. They lost significant running on day 1 and are still in recovery mode, validating systems and rebuilding that lost data window. That doesn't mean the car lacks pace, but it does mean they're still trying to fully understand it. Next is Mercedes. Lower mileage across day 2 suggests they're still deep in correlation work, aligning simulation with real-world behaviour and refining setup direction. Again, it's not a speed issue, a learning phase issue. Alpine sits in a similar position. Interrupted runs and ongoing baseline refinement indicate they're still working to stabilise their core package before pushing into full performance programs. And then there's Audi. Their approach has been deliberately conservative. Structured, methodical system validation rather than chasing headline mileage. That's expected from a new power unit program, but it does mean they're building understanding gradually. And Racing Bulls, a controlled but cautious program. They have short cycle runs, limited long run visibility, and continued incremental checks. They're progressing, but I don't think they're yet fully settled into extended simulations. Now, here is the key point. Extended garage time at this stage doesn't mean a team is slow. It means they're still learning. But the teams that unlock clean, uninterrupted running first are usually the ones that arrive at the opening race ready to execute rather than experiment. And in regulation reset season like this one, that difference will matter. Because under the 2026 regulations, energy efficiency isn't just important, it's absolutely central. Drivers who manage deployment best will control race pace. Teams who optimize regeneration earliest will gain strategic flexibility. And already you can see which teams are prioritizing this understanding. Those running longer, smoother programs are mapping race behavior. Those still running shorter cycles are often still validating the systems. The hidden signal, stability under aero transition. Another emerging theme, aero confidence. These new aero cars rely heavily on active aerodynamic behavior, and what teams are quietly validating right now is transition stability, how predictable the car feels when switching between drag and downforce states. If a driver looks composed across long runs, that's a strong sign. If they're making frequent corrections on returning early, that suggests work remains. This isn't visible on timing screens, so it's difficult to validate, but it's, in my opinion, means everything to whether a team is confident at this point or are still working through understanding their car. Because driver confidence unlocks performance. And remember, the first 5 races will reward preparation. So the pattern that is emerging, here's where we are after day 2. A pattern is forming. Some teams like McLaren, Ferrari, and Haas, and surprisingly Williams, are running structured long programs. They're showing operational calm and they are gathering clean data, while others are still cycling through checks, refining baseline behavior, and searching for consistency. And while that doesn't decide the championship at this point, it absolutely shapes the opening phase of the season. What this means for round 1 in Melbourne. By the time testing ends, the teams that understand reliability, trust their energy deployment, and feel confident in the aero behavior will arrive in Melbourne ready to execute. As I have said and keep saying, the others will arrive still learning. And remember, the first 5 races of any season, the reward preparation. It's not just raw pace. Day 2 didn't reveal the fastest car, but it did reveal which teams are starting to understand this new era and which teams may already be chasing it. If you want Formula One updates that cut through the noise and tell you what actually matters, hit, smash, punch, push that subscribe button so you don't miss the next briefing. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, hit, smash, punch, push that follow button so you don't miss any briefings. And remember, I will put my predictions in my update of day 6 of preseason testing. So listen out for that. Subscribe, like, and follow so you don't miss it. This is All Motorsports Podcast, F1 properly understood.